Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing Shadow Warrior 2 on the GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. For FPS monitoring, I'll be using CAM. If you want to download this software, there's a link down in the description. And if you want to purchase any of the parts featured in this build and support the channel, there are Amazon affiliate links down in the description too. So Shadow Warrior 2, I'll be doing 1080p, 1440p, 900p and 720p. To skip any of those sections of the video, check the description below. So first I'll be doing 1080p, targeting 30 frames per second, which in this case means the highest setting. So I'm using the highest setting, I don't care about performance, I just want quality. That's the mindset I'm trying to put here. Then after that I do 1080p, trying to get 60 frames per second. I'll be talking more about each setting that I chose later. But here I had to drastically lower the settings in order to get closer to 60 frames per second. And I managed to get between 45 and 65 frames per second. There's not much that you can do to fix the performance on 1080p. Lowering the settings helps, but it doesn't fix the drops below 50 frames per second, for example. Still a playable experience, but when there are many enemies on screen, a lot of foliage, alpha effects, particles, all that kind of stuff, the GPU really struggles to hit the 60 frames per second target, or 50 to 60 frames. That's why I said it drops to 45 sometimes. So yeah, 60 frames per second at 1080p is difficult with the 1050 Ti on this game. Then I did 900p with the ultra settings once again. In this case I was closer to 60 frames per second, but I was over 30 no matter what. That's what I tried to do there, stay over 30 with the maximum quality possible. Then I lowered the settings in order to get 60 frames per second. And on 900p it's much easier obviously to get 60 frames per second, and I had to lower the settings much less than on 1080p. So I recommend that over 1080p if you want 60 frames per second. Then I did 720p ultra settings, and you'll see that 60 frames per second at 720p is very easy by just cranking up the settings to the maximum. On 720p I get 60 frames per second and over that target sometimes. When I go over 80 or 90 frames per second, the GPU usage might drop to 88% or the low 90s, but that's not really that much of an issue. You're still over 60 frames per second. So the Pentium is still enough to play at 60 frames per second, but if you want to go over that target, you might want to get a better GPU and CPU. And finally at 1440p, it was impossible to get 60 frames per second, even at the lowest setting. So I just cranked up the settings as much as I could without dropping below 30 frames per second, and it was possible. So if you want to play at 1440p, you can have pretty decent visuals and over 30 frames per second. So now I'm going to comment on the graphics options menu. There is not one setting that you lower and the game magically gets a big bump in the frame rate. In this case you have to lower many things together in order to see a big frame rate difference compared to more modern titles that you lower the settings and it looks very similar. In this case the differences are very noticeable, but the game still looks pretty good. Sorry about the video quality, YouTube compression kills the quality of the video, so the game will look much worse than when you are actually playing it. So the one setting that I saw that boosts performance the most is level of detail. You have low, medium and high. I recommend using medium since low has a lot of pop-in. But if you don't care about pop-in and all that kind of stuff, just keep it on low. Then SSAO and screen space reflections, and then foliage and debris. Just lower those three settings together and you should have a good boost in the frame rate. But if that wasn't enough, also lower together shadows, volumetric fog, depth of field and temporal anti-aliasing. The depth of field option will help you the most when you're aiming down sights, since everything around the sight will be blurred with that effect. So in that case it will give you a good FPS boost, but there's not much that you can do to fix the performance other than lowering the resolution. Also, if you have an NVIDIA card, you have NVIDIA multi-res shading. We'll just lower the resolution on the edges of the screen and keep the maximum quality in the middle of the screen. You might not notice the difference. It's slightly noticeable if you keep it at 60%, but I didn't see much of a difference in performance. I saw 5 FPS difference at the most, even using the aggressive setting. So I don't really think it's worth using. It's not actually such a big performance boost. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Nothing like it.
friends. You ready to kill some fuckfaces?
With the bull, you get the way.
know what's funny? You're full of holes.
Do you feel lucky, prick? Chump. Good morning, Starshine. And good night.